Welcome to the Etsy Conversations audio blog episode number 4. This week, I'm going to be answering the question, is Shopify better than Etsy? As usual, you can find this post on my website. It's convome.com, and you can go to the Etsy Q&A tab and it will be right there at the top. And if this is later on in the future, you can use the search bar off to the right-hand side on the website and just type in Shopify and this should come up. So this question is Shopify better than Etsy? This is my attempt to answer a question that has nagged at many Etsy sellers at one point or another in their selling journey. Is Shopify better than Etsy? I won't save the best for last, so I'll just go ahead and say upfront, no, Shopify is not better than Etsy. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't mean that it isn't a good tool to have in your arsenal of online selling tools, but is it better than Etsy? For most sellers, and especially for new Etsy sellers, no, I don't think it is. And this would be a good place to state that the opinions expressed in this blog post and in this audio blog are mine and mine alone. Most importantly, they're just that, my opinions. But I will back them up with observations that I've made over the past 7.5 years of talking with a wide array of Etsy sellers, both on and off the podcast, as well as my own personal experiences running my own e-commerce website. The annoying but more politically correct response to this question is, it depends. And that's because it really does. So let's talk about Shopify versus Etsy for e-commerce newbies. If you are new to the world of online selling, then for sure I advocate finding an established platform with an audience of buyers who already flock to that platform and set up your shop there. This is a good way to get initiated in the ins and outs of selling online, which are quite different from selling in person if that's what you've been doing up until now, or if you haven't been doing anything at all. It's also a good way to do some proof of concept testing for your products or your ideas. The marketplace on an established platform will help you figure out quickly what buyers do or don't want. And by interacting with customers within the safe confines of a trusted marketplace, you can actually refine your product offering based on customer feedback or potential buyer requests. So the bottom line for newbies, start on Etsy. Now, Shopify versus Etsy for veteran sellers. Okay, this is where it gets a bit more interesting because as a veteran seller, ideally, you've grown a following or fan base, if you will, and you probably have some repeat customers. These are people who come back to buy from you because they like or love what you sell and they want more from you from time to time. At this point, it makes sense to find a way to stay in touch with your customers. You'll probably want to keep them informed of new products or product lines that you have, give them sneak peeks into your behind the scenes processes, and start connecting with them more personally. The key is you want them coming back to you and not getting distracted by other shops or products along the way, which can happen if they're always just coming to Etsy to look for you. Unfortunately, Etsy doesn't make it very easy to do this. And since repeat buyers are easier to sell to than new customers, you'll want to keep the lines of communication with them open. Now is when you want to start exploring the possibility of setting up your own website. This is when you start looking for a platform that will make it easier for you to stay connected with your customers. Yours, not the marketplace's. And for you to have the flexibility to collect their emails in an easier way so you can continue to communicate with them directly. So the bottom line for veteran sellers is expand the tools in your toolbox. consider setting up a Shopify or other freestanding website. It doesn't have to be Shopify, but Shopify, I think, has positioned themselves to go head to head with Etsy because they can give you an e-commerce solution all in one, as opposed to something like, say, WordPress or Squarespace or what have you. Now, Shopify or Etsy, or Shopify and Etsy. It's not a trick question. You know that you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket, but you also realize that expansion means less attention being paid to either platform that you're running on. I advocate owning your own space on the internet. So as you might guess, I am partial to the Etsy and Shopify side of the equation. But this takes a lot of hard work because there are many more things to take into consideration that you'll be responsible for when you run your own website. These are things that you don't have to think about when you sell exclusively on the Etsy marketplace. So here are things to consider when opening your Shopify e-commerce site. Number 1, traffic. Are you ready to become your own search engine optimization or SEO expert? If you're setting up your own website, you should be ready to be just in case, well, not just in case, because you'll need to spend a significant, and by significant, I mean a lot of time doing SEO to drive traffic, which are your buyers, to your websites. Mind you, they don't know you, so they're not going to know who to look for or how to find you. And so you have to make sure that when they're searching for what you're selling, you're showing up in the searches that they're making on Google or Bing, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo. So that's the first thing, is traffic. Second is trust. You can direct your current customers to your new website. That's the people who know you from Etsy, because they already know you and they like your products. They'll likely already trust you as well. But this won't be the case with people who don't already know you. You will have to work to convince them, these random people searching on the internet for what you're selling, to trust you enough to spend money on your site. And they don't really know you, so your site is going to have to do a lot to convey trust so that they can put in sensitive information like their payment information. Which leads to the third thing you have to consider when you're opening your Shopify e-commerce site is security. Now, Google is all about secure sites, and especially when it comes to e-commerce sites and sites that accept payments from visitors or customers. Your site will get penalized and basically thrown into cyberspace oblivion if it is not HTTPS secure. Do you know how to set that up and keep it up to date? There's some technical stuff that goes on the back end, and sometimes you can pay someone to do that for you. But that's something you need to consider, because if you're going to be collecting payments, now it's the standard. You need to have a secure site with the correct level of encryption so that people's credit card information and whatnot doesn't get hacked into or stolen. So that's security. A fourth thing to consider when you're opening your Shopify e-commerce site is payment systems. Now on Etsy, you only need to link your existing bank account to your Etsy account to receive the income that you earn on the site. When you run your own Shopify site, you have to do some back-end setup of the payment systems like PayPal or Stripe or something else in order to collect money from your buyers and in order to receive the income that you get. So a way to collect money from buyers and then a way to put that money that you've collected into your bank account. So something else to consider. Now, I know that it sounds like I'm coming down heavily against opening a Shopify store, but in actuality, if you're ready to grow your business and to grow as a business site and an e-commerce seller in particular, learning the ins and outs of running your own website is a great thing. I've done it myself, And even though it hasn't always been easy, I've lost lots of sleep, I've lost some hair, and I think maybe even a little bit of my mind for a little while. I've learned so much about running a successful website that I wouldn't change the experience for anything. And I certainly would not dissuade anyone from learning what I have for themselves. So I mentioned earlier that I'm partial to the Etsy and Shopify side of the equation more than the Etsy or Shopify side. The good thing is that setting up one after the other doesn't have to be a tiresome or a tedious process, thanks to some apps out there that make it easy to cross-post your Etsy listings into your Shopify store and vice versa. So there are some Etsy and Shopify marketplace integration tools. The first one is called Etsy Marketplace Integration Tool, and it's offered in the Shopify apps store, and it allows you to sell products that you have in your Shopify store in your Etsy shop as well. So say you have a Shopify store and you want to expand onto Etsy, you can do that. And the other way around, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are already on Etsy and are thinking of going in the other direction. This app will do that for you. It also tracks your inventory across both platforms. So if you sell out in one shop, you don't have to worry about having a product that no longer exists being available for sale in the other shop. Now, is there a downside? Yes. The app costs $60 per month, but you can consider this as part of the cost of doing business. And if you're going to be paying $60 a month, it gives you a bit more incentive to put in the work that's required to go into running your own e-commerce website. So make sure it's paying off. Make sure that the sales you get are not just covering the costs of having your Shopify store up and open, but also bringing in a profit. And Shopify isn't free. There are different levels, and I didn't put that in the blog post, but maybe I will add that as an addendum to the post so you know what the different levels of Shopify store are, because you can pay different amounts to get different levels of functionality in your store. There's a quick video that goes into more detail about the features that are included in this Etsy Marketplace integration tool and what it provides to sellers. I have a link, well, not a link, I have the video in the post on my website. So again, go to convome.com and look for the Shopify versus Etsy post, not Shopify versus Etsy. The title of the post is Shopify better than Etsy? Or just type in Shopify in the search bar and it will come up. Other apps in the Shopify marketplace do pretty much the same thing as this one I've just described. But I think this one is one of the more popular ones. Another popular one, which has also been mentioned on this podcast in the past, is called Etsify, and it does the same thing. Etsify costs $69 per month, but you get 5 free listings before you have to start paying. Then there's also Sellbrite. That costs $19 a month to begin with, but then depending on what features you use, the price goes up from there. And then a last one that does this migration / cross-posting and inventory tracking and all whatnot is called Borneo Migration. And this one costs 10 cents per product that you sell, but you get the first 10 products that you import in either direction free. So this one also has a video, and I have the video of this one on the website as well. So go to convome.com and you can watch the video of how it works. Now, here's a disclaimer. I have no affiliation whatsoever with any of these Etsy shop integration apps. I only learned about them through research that I did on my own. I don't recommend any one over another because I haven't had any personal experience using any of them. I did not run my e-commerce store on Shopify, so that's why I haven't used any of these. Again, this was a question that came up, so I did some research, and just based on stuff I know, that's how we got here. So I'm just sharing information that I've gleaned from doing my own research into this topic. And if you want to learn more about any of these, and you want to learn more about integrating your Etsy shop into Shopify, let me know. Post something in the comments on this section, or send me a message on Instagram and let me know, and I will reach out to them and maybe have somebody from Shopify on the podcast as my guest, and maybe even see if they'll give you a special deal on a Shopify store, maybe some type of discount or something, but only if you're interested. And so if I don't get any interest, I'll just take that as a sign that this is not what you want right now. Okay. If you don't have the budget, or you don't have a large volume of inventory, then you can probably manage doing the cross-listing manually. And yeah, there you have it. So this is my opinion about whether or not Shopify is better than Etsy, but I'd also like to hear what you think. Do you have a preference for one over the other? Do you agree that both are equally important, or do you think it doesn't even really matter? Let me know. Come over to convome.com, leave me a comment over there on the blog post, and I will be back next week with another guest interview. Oh, I forgot one more thing. I am going to be doing the Etsy workshop. It's going to be online, and the first one I'm going to offer you is on Etsy search. This is not the regular Etsy search information that you're used to seeing or what have you. This workshop has more information from Etsy, just about how Etsy search works and how you can prime your shop to show up better in Etsy search. And so I will be doing that workshop in June. I haven't selected a date yet, but if you're on my mailing list, then I will send an email out. And for this, because we're just starting out, I've decided that I'm going to limit the number of participants just for the first one, so that because I haven't done an online training before, there's a lot of technical stuff that goes into setting it up and making sure everything runs smoothly. And I want to leave enough time for questions and answers. So if you have questions, I have enough time to respond to everyone's questions and concerns. And if I can't answer, go back to the folks at Etsy and get you answers. And so I'm planning on limiting the registration to just 15 to maybe 20 people if there is enough interest. And after that, we can go from there, and I'll open it up for more people. So for this first one, it will be just a limited audience. I will send an email out to everyone on the mailing list with the links to sign up for the online training live with me. It won't be recorded. It will be live. I will be there. We will be talking in real time, and I will be sharing information with you about Etsy search. Thanks again for listening. I will be back next week. Oh, you can connect with me either by email at interview@convome.com, or use the contact form on my website, convome.com, or on Instagram at convomepodcast, or Simply Craft Supplies. That's the one for my Etsy shop.